Hello everyone and welcome back to Code with Beto. In this video we're going to learn how to create a Snapchat camera clone, and it's going to be very complete because we're going to learn how to handle pictures and how to take videos. We're going to be using the Expo camera package from Expo, and actually we're going to be using as well Expo symbols, Expo media library to access the photos of the phone. We're going to be using as well async storage to handle the onboarding of the user. When they open the application for the first time, we're going to show an onboarding screen, and then we're going to ask permissions to use the camera. Also, we're going to learn how to handle video, like playing the video, taking pictures. We are going to share then these pictures and videos. As well, we're going to learn how to handle QR codes. So without further ado, let's actually see the demo. As you can see on the screen, I have my iPhone, and then I also have the simulator. I'm using an iPhone 12 for this tutorial, and because we need access to the camera, I'm gonna be playing with my real device. So I'm going to build this application for the first time so that you guys can see. Let me unlock this device, and the app is running. And if I wait a second, we have this beautiful onboarding screen with this really nice animation. And actually I'm taking advantage of the Expo template. When you create a new Expo app, already comes with this parallax effect, which looks really nice. By the way, this application will be compatible with light mode and dark mode. Let me see if I can enable light mode quickly. Okay, this is how it looks. I prefer, dark mode, so let's keep it dark. All right, so what I wanted to show you guys is basically the permissions. Once we hit continue, we need to provide access for the camera, the microphone. So let's allow this. Let's allow. Okay, so just for testing, we're going to learn as well how to handle when user does not allow to use, in this case, the microphone, right? Now for this specific video, if the user does not provide access for any of these things that we need access to, like microphone and camera, I want to prevent access to the application. So let's see what happens if I press don't allow. We see this alert that is saying to continue, please provide permissions in settings. Okay, so now we show this error alert, and if I press continue, I will get the same alert. Okay, so let's go to settings. Now we have to do this manually. I have to scroll down and then search for Snapchat clone, which is the last one, and I'll turn on microphone. Let's go back to the app. This will reload the application. Let's continue. And now I need to provide access to my photos. If I don't allow access, the same thing would happen. So in this case, I'll just allow full access. And here we have it. So this is the camera. I forgot that I put a video by default, but I closed it, and this is how it looks. So let me just show you here around. I am in my desk, and you can see the screen there and recording in progress. And this is how it looks. So a couple things to notice. If I close the app and then come back to the application, let's do that. Let's go back to the app. We won't ask permissions. We won't see the onboarding screen. We'll just go straight to the camera, okay? So this is how it looks. We have access to the library, as you can see. We can view, 4 pictures here, but if we want to see the entire library, we can just go to this button and we will display the library of the user, and we can scroll and things like that. Okay, things that we can do here, we can use the zoom, for example, zoom out a little bit, and then we can take a picture. So if I take a picture, this is how it looks. Now from here, I can save this image by pressing the top right button. We have this alert, and we can also share. Okay, now let's close this. We get this really nice transition when we come back to the camera. Now let's see the video feature. Okay, now check this out. Every time that I switch between snap and video, we have this really cool animation. And when we are taking a video, let's try to take a video. I'm just going to press this button and we are recording. We are showing the yellow of Snapchat, as you can see there, and it looks great. So let's just record a quick video and then I'll just pause the video and we get this view. Now from here, of course, you can customize this if you want, guys, but let's just play this video and we can pause using the same button. One more thing that we can do is just press anywhere in this video and we will get the native controls of this video, which means we can use the default player and we will have access to all the buttons and maximize this to full screen or even do screen sharing. Okay, so let me press again to toggle the controls. We can save this video to the library, we can share this video, or we can simply close. Okay, let's take a quick video again. Super quick, stop. In this case, I will save this video. Video was saved, as you can see there. And then I close this. We get this transition back. Now, one more cool thing that we can do here, guys, and that I wanted to show you is that, for example, I have this mug here, and this mug has a QR code. And we have this QR code detected, as you can see there. Now let me minimize this window because it looks bad. But if I, put this here, we got this QR code detected. And if I, if I just take it out, it won't be detected anymore. Now it's cool that if I just, show a little bit of the QR code, I think it will be detected super quickly. Okay, it's not, but if I put it closer, there we go. Once we have this QR code detected thing, we can actually press it. That's a button. And I have a QR code here prepared for this video. Okay, so here we have this QR code. So I'll just press QR code detected, and this will take me to the link, right? This is super cool and very easy to implement, actually. So you will be surprised. Then press done, and we will go back to the QR code. From here, I can take a picture if I want to. Save it. Okay, close this, go back to the library, and we're able to see the new pictures, as you can see there. All right. And yeah, that's basically it, guys. This is what we're going to be doing in this video. If you're interested, just stick till the end. I think in this video is going to be very helpful. We're going to learn a lot about how to handle taking pictures, taking videos, and how to handle the media to display once we have the videos, right? Okay, now that we have seen the demo, let's actually jump to the video. Alrighty, guys, so as always, if you want to get the code for this video, it's going to be available completely for free at codewithbeto.dev. Just go to the project section and you'll find this video here once it's available. As you can see, we don't have it here, but we have the latest, which is the symbols. And we're going to be using as well the symbols in this video. This library is really cool to have, these kind of animations for the recording and taking pictures. Those icons are coming from these SF symbols. But yeah, once this video is ready, you should be able to just come here, click the video, and then if you scroll down, you'll find the GitHub link, or if you want to download the code as a zip, you can do so as well. And as well, you'll find all the dependencies that we need for this project. Okay, now that being said, if you feel like you are like I'm going too fast in this video, or if you see some things that are new to you, I would highly recommend, guys, that you check out the course of React Native here in the platform as well, to strengthen the basics of your knowledge in React Native. And then once you have the basics, you can actually start building, applications faster if you know the basics. So we have this React Native course, really good, very complete. We also have the Master React with TypeScript. If you are into web development, if you want to learn how to use the latest frameworks like Next.js, how to deploy an application, how to integrate payments with Stripe, for example, check out this video as well using TypeScript. Of course, we're going to be using TypeScript in this video as well. But if you want to learn more about TypeScript, I would highly recommend this course, since we have a specific section just to learn the basics of TypeScript, like generics, which is one thing that is very common to see in React applications. Okay. And then finally, we have this amazing promotion right now. We are offering a Git and GitHub course for pre-sale. So huge opportunity. If you want to check it out, go to codewithbeto.dev. Now let's actually start building this application. Alrighty guys, so the first thing that we need to do is actually create the application. So for that, I'll just go to my desktop, and then I have this folder called test, and I'll create a new Expo app using yarn. So I'll say yarn create Expo app, and then the name of the app, in this case, Snapchat camera, and hit enter. This will take a moment. Already, and the project is ready, as you can see here. So let's CD into the Snapchat camera. Now, before I open this in VS Code, I want to install the dependencies that we're gonna be using. So you can get these dependencies at codewithbeto.dev if you don't want to write them manually. So I'll just paste them here. You can actually copy paste them all at once. So the first one is going to be Expo camera. This will allow us to take pictures and take videos. Then we're gonna be using Expo symbols. Expo symbols is used mostly for iOS, and basically the icons that you see in the application, like the video and snap here in the demo, all these icons are from Expo symbols. And if you want to learn more about Expo symbols, check out my previous video. We learn how to make animations, how to customize them, and things like that. Then we're going to be using as well Expo Media Library for accessing the photos here. So in the demo, we also have access to the photos, as you can see here. And then these photos that you can see here are coming from the media library. So we need this library as well. Finally, as well, we're going to be using async storage. Async storage, it's used to store if the user has opened the app for the first time. So if the first time that we open the application, we want to show the onboarding screen, as we saw in the demo. And once we open the app, the second time, we just want to go straight to the camera. So to save this value, we're using async storage. Expo image and video to display the pictures and videos that we are taking with the Expo camera. Okay. Then we're using Expo sharing to share the videos and share videos and pictures. And as you can see here in the simulator, in the simulator, I won't be able to take a picture. But once we have, let's say that we have a video, and actually I have one here hard-coded. So from here, we can share. If I press the share, we should be able to see this share, okay? And from here, we can send this video in messages or WhatsApp or whatever. So I'll just close this and close this. Okay, and finally, we're using Expo browser. And this is used to open QR codes. For example, here in the demo, if I just bring my mug, you can see the QR code detected. So to open the QR codes in a web browser, we are using Expo web browser, okay? And that's it. That's all we're gonna be using. So let's go ahead and hit enter and wait for a little bit. Okay, so dependencies have been installed correctly. Let's go ahead and open this in VS Code. Alrighty guys, so here we are in VS Code. And the first thing that I want to do is pre-build my application so that we can generate the native code for iOS and Android. So let's go ahead and run npx expo pre-build and hit enter. This will ask me, the package for Android that I want to use for this application. I'll just select the default one, and it will ask me as well for the identifier for iOS. This is just a test, so I'll just select the default one. Now this will create this Android and iOS folder. And by the way, a pro tip guys, since these folders are auto-generated every time that we run npx expo pre-build, I would recommend that you add these folders to the git ignore so that they are not tracked by Git. Okay, and let's just close this for now. That's the first change that we want to do. Now, the first part that I want to start working on is going to be the onboarding screen. And for that, we can actually use the simulator. So let's go ahead and run this application on iOS by saying yarn iOS. All right, so I'll just go ahead and minimize a little bit my terminal while this is compiling for iOS. Now, we're going to be using Expo router, as you can see here. This is the default template that comes with Expo, and it's really nice because already comes with support for dark mode, and we also have a couple of tabs here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start abstracting a little bit the logic for the onboarding. Like I mentioned before, we want to take the user to the onboarding screen just the first time they open the application. To know if they open the application, I will abstract this logic into a hook. So let's go ahead and create a new hook. And this hook will be called useFirstTimeOpenHook.ts. And looks like this, useFirstTimeOpen. So when we're creating hooks, so the first thing that I'll do is actually import all as React from React. And when we are using hooks, we need to export this function. And now the simulator is asking me if I want to open the camera. So I'll say yes. And this will take me to the Hello World application. Okay, and this is how it looks. Very nice. All right, so let's call this useFirstTimeOpenHook. And this hook, it's going to keep track of two things. The first one is going to be if it's the first time or not. So let's create this variable is first time and set is first time. Okay, so this is going to be a Boolean, and at the beginning I want this to be false. Then I want to have another one called is loading, because this is going to be an async operation while we are checking if we have a user. So, if this is the first time or not. So let's track the loading state by saying is loading and set is loading equal to false at the beginning as well. And then we can simply use a use effect that takes two parameters. The first one is going to be a callback function and then an array of dependencies. The array of dependencies is going to be empty since I just want to run this effect once when the component mounts. Now I am going to create an async function. So let's say async function, and the name of this function is going to be check first time open. And then we don't have any parameters. It's just like that. Let's use a try catch. If we have an error, we can just put it in the console for now. Error, getting local first time. And then just put the error in the console. Okay. Now in the try, what I want to do is use the async storage library to check if we have a value for the for the open for the first time. Okay, so let's do that by saying const has opened. I'm going to call this has opened equal to await, and then let's use the async storage. Now this async storage, we need to import it. So I'll say from, I need to say async storage, and this will come from React Native async storage. Okay, so let's use this async storage here. Now this async storage comes with some methods like get item. This get item will take a key, which is like the identifier for my value. In this case, the identifier is going to be called has opened. Okay, and then this will let me know if this value is not null, basically. That means that the user has opened the application at least once. So let's validate if has opened equal null. This means that it's the first time that the user is opening the app, right? So first time. And here I'm going to say set is first time equal to true. Okay. Otherwise, I'll use an else, and I want to set the same variable, but in this case, it's going to be false. Okay. Now let's remember that we are, keeping track of this is loading state. And by the way, I want this to be true at the beginning because we're going to be loading right away once we run this use effect. So finally here, I want to set the is loading equal to false. The reason I'm putting this in the finally is because if we have an error, the finally is still going to run. So we can set the loading equal to false. Okay, now don't forget to call this function. Check first time open after we declare it. And then we can simply return these two variables, is first time and then is loading. Hit save, and this is our hook. Okay, so we're just basically checking if this is the first time. Now, something to keep in mind is that if this is not the first time, or if this is the first time, you might be thinking this is a good time to actually set this value instead of just setting this, set this to true. But I want to wait a little bit on the set item because I want to set that only once the user approves the permissions for the microphone, for the camera, and things like that, okay, and the library. So yeah, that's our hook. Now the second thing that I want to do is create an onboarding screen. Let's go to the app. Let's create a new file called onboarding.tsx. Now for my onboarding, I want to basically copy this screen that we have here. So if I go to the index, this is the screen that we are seeing here. I'll just select all, copy. Let's go to the onboarding and change the name to be onboarding screen and hit save. Okay, there we go. Okay, so before I start editing this, onboarding screen, well, I guess I can say here, Snapchat camera, just so that we know that we're in this screen, hit save. And before I, start changing everything in here, I need to add this screen to my stack, right? So let's go to the layout here, the main layout, and scroll down. Here we have the tabs. Here we have the screen not found. So I'll just duplicate this and then say onboarding. This is going to be my onboarding screen. And I want to set some options for this screen. So we can do that here as well. So I'll say options. Let me minimize the Explorer a little bit. So the presentation for this one, I want to be full screen modal. And then header shown equal to false. And finally, I want to animate this in a fade manner. Okay, so let's hit save. All right, now we have added this screen to the stack. Let's close this for now. And now let's go to the layout of the tabs. Since the tabs are the first screens that we're seeing here, in this layout, I want to have the validation before I, show anything to the user. So in this layout, we can simply say const equal to useFirstTimeOpen. We're going to be using our hook, and this is returning the loading state and the first time. And then in the tab layout, I can have a validation and say if it's loading, then I'll just return an empty tag for now. And then if it's the first time that we are seeing this user in this application, I want the redirect. And for redirecting, I'll be using this redirect from export router. So let's import this. And just to show you, this is coming from Expo Router here. And this redirect is going to take an href, and we want to redirect the user to the onboarding screen. So let's hit save. And once I hit save, super quickly, we can see that we are taken to this Snapchat camera, which is the onboarding screen. And now that we are here, we can actually start working on the UI a little bit. All right, so for the onboarding screen, the first thing that I want to do is change this image. I don't want to have the React image. I want to have a cool image that is going to come from Expo symbols. So I'll use symbol view. And I don't know why this is not giving me autocomplete. Let's see. Symbol view. Okay, I'll just have to import this manually. So let's come here and say from Expo symbols, I want to use the symbol view. Okay, and then we can come down here. And the symbol view, let me comment this for now. The symbol view is going to take a name of the icon that I want to use, or I would say symbol, and I want to use a camera.circle. Now again, guys, if you want to learn more about symbols, check out my previous video. And then size 250. I will leave you a link down here if you are interested. So let's hit save. And now we have this really cool icon. Now, before I continue, actually, I want to mention that we have this colors file that comes in the template inside the constants. We have these colors, and then this is where we are using the the colors for the theme that comes with this template. Now I want to add a yellow color for the Snapchat things, right? So I'll add this Snapchat primary color, which is a yellow color. And then I want to change a little bit, the background for the dark mode. So we can, come here and change this to be a black. Hit save, and that's how it looks. Now let's go to the onboarding again. Now in this onboarding, in the same symbol view, I'll specify a type for this. This is going to be hierarchical, and then we can also have an animation spec, which is going to take an effect of type bounce, and hit save. All right, and that's how it looks. Now we can also specify the tint color, and I want to use my color, so let's import this from the constants. It doesn't matter, I'll use dark dot snap primary. This is going to be this yellow. Okay, and then finally this is going to work only for iOS, and we need to specify a fallback for Android devices. Now you might want to change this icon, but for now I'll just use the same image that we had before for React, just to make sure that this is going to render something for Android devices. But if I don't want to waste a lot of time changing this, but for now, let's just use this image. Okay, just keep in mind that this is going to be for Android devices. Cool, so now this is looking good. Now I'll just minimize this a little bit. And let's check out the text. So we have a couple things here. I'm going to have another text. I'll just use this simple text. I think I can use this one. I'll paste it here after the view, and I'll have this, and then I'll just have this text that says welcome friend. To provide the best experience, this application requires permissions, right? So we need to let the user know that we need permissions, so that they actually approve them. Because if we just randomly start asking for permissions without explaining anything, they won't be accepting, right? So let's change this to be camera permissions. Hit save. This is how it looks. Now we can add a more detailed description here. I'll just delete this, and for now I'll just say something like, well, just let's add an emoji. camera and say for taking pictures and hit save, right? And we can do basically the same thing for the extra permissions, and this would be a good point for your application to actually, explain a little bit more about the features that you're gonna be offering. Okay, so once we have these three items, I can just come down here and create a simple button from React Native. And let's create a title that says continue. Now, whenever we press this button, I want to, ask for permissions. So let's create an empty function for now here. Okay, this is how it looks. Let's quickly check how it looks on Android. On light mode, this is how it looks. Let's go back. Cool, so everything is working fine. Now let's create this function up here. Now, when it comes to asking for permissions, we need to ask permissions for camera, microphone, and media library. So for these, we can use hooks. For example, use camera. Okay, so this is not giving me autocomplete. Okay, so I'll just come here and import from Init Expo Media Library, and then I also need to import Expo Camera. So I'll use, say, Expo Camera. We also need permissions for microphone, and actually the microphone will come inside this hook. So use camera permissions, use microphone permissions, and then from Expo Media Library, we can use permissions. Okay, so now here I say use camera permissions, and then this will return a camera permission result. And then a function to request camera permission. So I'll say request camera permission. Yep, and this is how it looks. Now we need to do the same thing for the mic and the library. So I'll create these three variables. First one, camera, and then microphone, and then permissions for media library. Okay, and I named this one media library permissions and request media library permissions. So the API is very similar. Now we need to create a function to handle the continue, right? So let's say function handle continue. Now these functions are asynchronous, which means we need to await for them, and this function needs to be asynchronous. Okay, so I'll use a function to request permission for everything. Okay, so let's create a function to do that down here. This is going to be an async function as well. So let's say async function. The name for this one is going to be request all permissions. Okay, and the request all permissions won't take anything, just like that. Now we need to track the status, right? We need to know if the user has approved everything, not just one thing, but everything. So I'll use this variable camera status for camera, and let's await and call the request camera permissions. Okay, and then we can validate. If we don't have, then let's check the camera status dot granted. If we don't have anything, we can actually alert the user. So I'll import alert from React Native dot alert, and then just say error camera permissions is required. Okay, and then we can return early false. So that means that this function is going to return a Boolean with the camera status, right? It should return true or false based on this. Now let's do the same for the permissions of the microphone and library. So down here, I'll have this microphone status and media library status. we are doing the exact same thing, just with different functions for each one of them. And at the end, if we don't return early, this means that the user has granted access, right? So let's return true. But one important thing, guys, is that once we have permissions for everything, now this is the point where I want to use my async storage. So let's import async storage and set item. Remember that the item key, it's called has opened. And I will set this value to be true. Okay, now let's go quickly to the what is it? Use first time. So the get item has opened. We need to use the same name here. Okay. Otherwise, this won't work. So make sure that you use the same key to look for the item and to set the item. All right. Now this function is ready. Request all permissions. Now we can come up here and say const. Remember, this is going to return a Boolean. So we can say const all permissions equal to await request all permissions. And finally, based on all permissions, so I'll say all permissions, if we do have these permissions, we can use the router from export router to replace the navigation for the tabs, which means we are going to go to the home screen. Okay, I'll just say navigation tabs. Cool. Now, otherwise, this means that we don't have permissions, and we have to show an alert for the user explaining that they need to go to the settings and provide permissions for this application. Otherwise, this won't work. Okay. So we're using the handle continue. Let's copy the name of this function, scroll all the way down, and whenever we press this button, we want to ask for permissions. Okay. And yeah, this is how it looks. Now, let's try this out in the simulator. I'll press continue. And it's asking me for camera access. I'll go ahead and allow everything, even the library. Okay. Now we are replacing and we are taking the user to the tabs, which means this is working fine. All right. And this is all we needed for the onboarding screen. Let's go ahead and close this. Let's go ahead and close the colors and let's move on with the camera screen. Now, before I forget, guys, we actually need to make one extra configuration inside the app.json. So for Android, we need to have some permissions here. So after the icon, I will add this permissions key, specifying that we need permissions for, writing images, camera, record audio, media location, and things like that. And we have to do similar thing for iOS, but for iOS, we need to add a plugin down here. So the plugins, they are going to look something like this. I will copy paste this. We need to add Expo Media Library, Expo Camera, and Expo Video. We don't need to add it. This is going to be automatically added, but Expo Camera and Media Library, we need to add. And then you can also tweak this message if you want for the camera permissions, as well as the microphone and the photos. Okay. So you can change this for something more custom to your application. Also make sure that you have this array structure. So each item, basically, if we put it like this, each item should look something like this. And then put this together like that. This is how it should look, okay? Okay, so let's hit save. This will format again. Once we have that, you should be good for permissions. Now, if you made this change, you need to pre-build again or build again your application in order for this to work. Okay, so let's close this. Okay, so one thing that I want to do, guys, is, as you can see, we have two tabs here. One thing that I want to do is just delete the tab that we are not going to be using. So let's delete this explore file. Okay. And also let's go to the layouts we have this tab for the Explorer. Let's go ahead and delete this and hit save. And now we only have one, one icon here. And instead of having a home, I want to have a camera. Okay, and it doesn't matter if it's focused or no. I'll just have the camera all the time. Okay, this is how it looks. Now, of course, if you want to have more screens, you can do so. But for the sake and simplicity of this video, let's just keep it like that. Now let's go to the index. We're going to have in this screen the camera. So I'll start by saying import from Expo Camera. We're gonna need a bunch of things from Expo Camera. And then we are going to import as well all as web browser from Expo web browser. Okay. Now let's tweak a little bit the UI. First thing that I want to do is, delete everything that we have in here and change this to be a simple view. Okay, so let's say view from React Native. This is going to be my main container. Okay, now of course, guys, for the simplicity as well of this video, I'll be writing inline styles. Okay, so I'll say style flex of 1 to make sure that we are taking the entire space in the screen. Now inside this, I want to have my camera. So from Expo Camera, I'll have my camera. Okay, and this is how it looks. Cool. So the camera, guys, needs a reference. Ref. And the reference will allows us to access methods for the camera, like taking a picture and recording a video. This reference needs to live in a variable. So let's call this variable camera ref. And we're gonna be using React. So let's go all the way to the top and say import all as React from React. Oops. Okay, and let's go down here and say used actually ref. Okay, this at the beginning it's going to be null, and the type of this reference is going to be camera. Actually, it's not camera, but camera view. And let me import camera view instead of camera. Okay, cool. Now let's assign this camera ref to the ref of the camera by putting this variable here. Cool. Now with this reference, we can access methods like I was saying, like .current, record async to take a video, or take picture async to take a picture. And we are going to learn more about it in a moment. So for now, let's just add this reference. Let's add as well a style. And I want to add a flex of 1 because I want this to take the entire screen. So if I hit save, we will see a blank screen, but let's test this out in my device. So let's bring my device here. Now the device it's still running the previous app. Let me just close this. So to test this, we need to, let me delete this app to make sure that we don't have anything here. Okay, so to test this, we need to run the app in my device. So let's stop the server. And what I want to do now is just say npx expo rebuild again, just to make sure that I have everything right in my folders. And then I'll access the iOS folder and I will open the Xcode workspace by saying open Xcode workspace. Okay. And if you run this command, this will open Xcode in this folder. Okay. Now, as you can see here, I have my Xcode and it's detecting my iPhone 15 Pro. But for this, I want to use my test device, which is the iPhone 12. Before I run this, before I hit play, I need to go here to the project in the sign in and capabilities, and I need to select a team. For this, I will use my company, Code with Beto. And now, once we selected the company, we can go ahead and play. Let's see what happens. This is going to take a moment, so let's just leave this like that for now. This is going to take a couple of minutes. Let's move this to the right and let's go back to the code. Let's see the out and let's start the server by saying yarn iOS again. This yarn iOS will run in the simulator, but Xcode it's used to run it in my real device. So yeah, let's wait for a little bit for that. This is building again in the simulator, and I'll just minimize the terminal for now. We don't need it. Okay, so back to the view. Once we finish loading, we should be able to see the camera that is working fine in the device. All right, so while this is loading, guys, I want to take advantage of the reusability of this application, since we're going to be handling a lot of buttons that come as icons. I want to create some components. So the first one is going to be an icon button. Okay, so let's create an icon button.tsx. Okay, and this icon button is going to be a component that will render an icon that you can press, but I want to use symbol view. So for iOS, and then we need to provide a fallback for Android. So for that, let's say export defaults. Sorry, import. Actually export default function. And this component is going to be called icon button. Okay. Now, because we're going to be using this component many times, we need to pass some properties to this component. So I'll create an interface, and I call this interface icon props. Okay, let's take a pause right now because the build was completed and now it's running in my real device, as you can see here. Now we get some warnings here. And I think this warning is because this is the first time that we are running the app and we need to provide access to the network. So I press allow and then run again. This should be quick now, since this is the second time that I'm running the play button. So let's wait for a little bit. Okay, and it's running. It's loading the app again. And at this point, it should detect that Metro is running. So if I open this, okay, so this failed. I need to start the server. Otherwise, this will fail. I need to switch to the development builds. All right, and we have the onboarding screen. So this is working in the real device. Cool. Now, from here, what I can do is just continue, allow permissions, full access to everything, and this will take me to the index screen where we have the camera. Now, because this is the first time that I'm opening the camera, it's taking a little bit, but it's looking fine. As you can see here, we're able to see everything. Cool. So let's just leave that like that for now. Let's continue with the icon button, since we need to add some icons to the screen. This component is very important. So a couple of things that we're going to need for this icon in order to work properly, it's going to be an iOS name, since we're going to be using the symbol view. So I need to type this with the SF symbol. Then for the Android name, we're going to be using iron icons. So I'm just grabbing the type from the icons name. And finally, we need a container style, because sometimes I want to have, a custom style. So let's use the view prop from React Native. Okay, so these are only types. And then I can say that this component is going to take icon buttons prop. And inside here, I can start by just autocomplete and put all the variables that we're gonna be using in here. Okay, we need a function whenever we press a button, and sometimes we need to handle a width and height to make the icon look good. All right, so inside this component, we are going to return a view, which is a touchable opacity from React Native. All right, so whenever we press this icon, I want to call my function onPress. Cool. Now let's add a style here. I want to have an array of styles. First one is going to be my style, but the second one is going to be the container style property that we're going to be passing in here. Okay, and we're going to play around with this in a moment, but for now let's go down here and use a symbol view from Expo Symbols. The name for this symbol is going to be the iOS name, and then we need an Android name as well. Well, for the Android we're going to be using a fallback, right? And we're going to be using ion icons. The size is going to be, let me create some variables for these kind of measurements. I'll put them on top. So I'll use this icon size of 25. Okay. And this is for Android. We need to provide as well the name of this icon. So the name is going to be the property Android name. Then we can also provide a style here if we want, and a color. So the color would be white. Okay, let's hit save. And this is for Android. So let's keep playing around with the properties for iOS. We need to provide a size as well. Size is going to be icon size. Then we need a style as well. Now the style, this is going to look a little bit ugly, but we need to check if we have a width and height as property. And if we do, I want to provide this width and height to the style. Otherwise, I want to pass just an empty object. Okay, let's hit save. And then we need a tint color. The tint color is going to be white as well. And I think that's all we need for this. Now let's add some styling for this. But before I add some styles, let's just use an icon in the index. So the camera view actually could be a self-closing tag, as you can see here, but we can also have a closing tag. And inside this camera view, I can have an icon button that I just created. Now this is going to take an Android name. I can use any icon for this example as well for iOS. And we need to provide a on press. Okay, let's hit save. All right, and as you can see in the device, at the very top left, we are able to see this icon. Okay, so let's go back to the icon. Let me add a type, hierarchical. Oh, there we have it. That's a white. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so let's go into this style here. I want to have a background color. This background color is going to be black, but this black, I want to have some opacity. So the opacity would be 50%, and this is how you can do opacity. Then we need padding. So I'll use my container padding. Border radius would be, just to make sure that this is going to work all the time. I'll do the container padding multiply by 2, and then I'll add to these the container width. Okay. Finally, we need to provide a width, container width, and hit save. All right, and that's how it looks. Cool. So I think this, this component, it's a little bit stable. We should be good to reuse it across our application. So let's go ahead and close this. Let's go back to the camera view. Now, before we jump into, doing a bunch of things in here, let's think a little bit about the view of the camera. We're going to have a bottom tools. The bottom tools are going to be like switching between taking pictures and videos, and also the library and the filters that we can use with Snapchat. So let's start with the bottom tools. Okay, so these bottom tools should be a component actually. So let's go ahead and create a new component. Oops, so I'll create a new file. And this will be called bottom row tools.tsx. Okay, so let's say export default function bottom row tools, and this will return a view for now from React Native. Okay, and yeah, so the first thing that I want to have here is actually an icon button, which is going to be very similar to the one that I left here. So let's remove this from here and put it here. Okay, and this button for iOS, it's going to be a photo stack. And for Android, it's going to be a library. Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's hit save. Let's go back to the index and add this bottom row tools component. Hit save. All right, and we can see at the top right this icon, which means this is working fine. Now let's create a couple of styles. So down here, I will create a style sheet from React Native. The first style is going to be direction row items. The reason why I'm creating this style is because I'm going to reutilize it, since we are basically just ordering from left to right and aligning items to the center and give it a gap. Then we also have a bottom container. So these two are going to be used for my main view. So if we come all the way here, we can add these two styles as this. Okay, now let me remove this. Sorry, by saying style equal to, and I need to close this in here and hit save. Now, as you can see in the device, we're able to see this, this icon, which means this is working fine. So when we press this, we need to actually navigate to the library screen. When we want to navigate using Expo Router, we can use the link component from Expo Router. So let's wrap this icon and say that we are going to use this as child. Okay, now this link, it's going to take an href, and I want to navigate to my media library. So this screen, we haven't created it yet, but we're going to create it in a moment. So let's just leave this as it is for now. And let's go down here. I want to create a new container. So I'll use a view from React Native. And inside this view, I want to have a touchable opacity from React Native. Okay. Inside this, I want to have a themed text. This themed text component came with the template when we created the app, and I call this snap. Okay, and then this touchable opacity, whenever we press this button, I want to set the camera mode, but I'll do that later. For now, I'll just put an empty function. And yeah, so let's duplicate this and hit save. All right, now I get a warning, but I also get the text at the very right, as you can see there. Then another thing that I want to do is align these two items from left to right. So let's add a style here by saying styles.direction row. Hit save. There we go. Finally, after this view, okay, so one is for the snap, the other one is for the video. Hit save. Okay, then after this view, I'll create another link from Expo Router, and this will, take me to, this should take me to other screen if we want to, but actually at this point, I will just create an icon button, and the Android name is going to be add, and iOS name would be magnify. And this is just for, just so that we have an icon there. And at the bottom, you can see these two items. Now let me move this so that you can see a little better these bottom tools. Okay, so yeah, now every time that I press, the snap and video, we have this opacity and it's working fine. Now let's go to the index file, and we're using these bottom tools, right? But we want to, change between taking pictures and taking photos in the camera based on this. So to do that, this camera comes with a property called mode, and mode can be either picture or video. And if I left picture, this is going to be the default value, but we want to be changing this based on the user preference. So for that, let's create a new variable, and I'll create it after the ref using useState. We need to pass the type, which is going to be camera mode, and we can import this type from Expo Camera. Okay, you can see here. Now I'm initializing this by default to be picture, but you can do as well video if you want. I'll just leave a picture for now. Then instead of having this mode picture hard coded, I'll pass my camera mode. Okay, and then we can pass this set camera mode function as property to the bottom tools. All right, and then we can use this function in this component. So before I go, I'll copy this type. Okay, so let's go here, and we are going to need to declare an interface for the props of this component and add paste the type, which is going to be a React dispatch, React set action, and the type is going to be Expo Camera. So camera mode from Expo Camera, and we are importing this in here. Now let's say that we are going to grab this from the bottom tools props, and we are going to use the set camera mode. Cool. So this is the only thing we need, I think, so far in here. Maybe I'll pass as well the camera mode, which is this value. So let's copy and paste it here. And yeah, so camera mode, let's copy this. Let's declare this type here. And then we can destructure in here. Okay. Now we can use this camera mode to validate the style of this snap, right? So let's create a style, and I'll just change the font weight based on the camera mode. So if the camera mode is equal to picture, then I want this to be bold. Otherwise, I want this to be 100. Okay, and that's how it looks. Cool, so now we can actually just copy this and paste it down here in the video. But in this case, we want to check if it's video, it's safe. Cool. Now in this case, we don't have, this condition is not meeting. So if it's video, we want this to be bold. If it's pictured, bold. Okay, this is good. So what am I missing here? Oh yeah, I think I need to save here. Okay, so if I hit save, we get this reloaded screen. Now, every time we press this, we can say set camera mode equal to, in this case, picture. Let me remove this extra curly. And in here, I'll do set camera mode. This is for the video. Okay, now let me test this out in my device. So if I press on video, we can see the switch there. And this is actually switching the camera as well, because this is updating this variable camera mode, which means it's working fine. And I think this is all we need for the bottom tools. Cool. Now let's create another component for the tools or the items that are going to be above this, right? These can be the main actions for the Snapchat camera. So let's go to the components, create a new file. This is going to be called main row actions .tsx. All right, so these main row actions, let's start by exporting it, default function. And let me just copy this name here so that I don't have to type it. And then return. Let's return a view for now from React Native. All right, so we are going to have a couple things in here. The first thing is going to be like the controls for taking pictures and also the pictures and some filters, right? So that means that we need to pass the handle take picture function whenever we press the circle button to record a video or take a picture. Then we also need to know the camera mode so that we can change this icon. And also we need to know if we are recording or not. Okay, so let's create an interface that will, declare the types that we expect in this component. So let's import this camera mode from the Expo camera library. Okay, now inside this component, we can destructure the main actions. Okay, so let's grab this. All right, so we have these variables, right? Now, we need to display like the circle, right? For taking pictures. Let's do that here. I'll use a touchable opacity for that. But this touchable opacity comes from React Native. And actually, every time we press this, I want to call the handle take picture, which is the function that we are passing, right, as property to this component. All right, so inside in here, I'll create a symbol view. And then we need to specify a name for this icon. Now the name of this icon is going to change depending on the camera mode. So if the camera mode is picture, then I want a circle. But if the camera mode, otherwise, if the camera mode is not picture, it means it's a video. But for a video, we need to show an icon when we are recording, and we need to show a different icon when we are not recording. So if it's recording, I'm going to pass this variable as property as well. I want to use the record circle. Otherwise, I want to use the circle.circle. All right, and you'll see how that looks in a moment. Now let's provide a size for this of 90. This is going to be a big one. And then the type is going to be hierarchical. Okay. Tint color, we can change the tint color based on the recording. If we are recording, I want to use the color from my constants. I'll use the light dot snap primary. Otherwise, I want to use just a white color. Okay, so that's the tint color. I also want to have an animation. So let's have an effect here. Type, and the type will depend as well if we are recording or not. If we are recording, I want to have a pulse. Otherwise, I want to have a bounce animation. And repeating, I want to repeat the animation if we are recording. So we can pass this in here. Now you see that we don't know anything about these variables, but by just passing them in here, we are able to, validate all these things before we can actually render this component in the other component. Now, I won't provide a fallback for Android, but if you are using Android, please do. Otherwise, this won't show anything. Okay? Just keep that in mind. All right, so that's our touchable opacity. Let's hit save and let's test this out. I'll pass this to my index. So let's use this main row actions. Now this is complaining because we need to pass a camera mode. So let's pass the camera mode in here. We need to pass as well the handle take picture. We don't have this function yet, so let's just pass an empty function. And finally, it's recording. So in this case, we are not passing anything. So I'll just say false for now and hit save. Now, as you can see in the top left of my iPhone, we are able to see this circle, which means this main row actions is working. Cool. Now let's create a style for the container of this view. Okay. So for that, I'll create a style because this is going to be a large style. I'll create it down here using the style sheet from React Native. And I'll name this one container. Okay, let's give it a width of 100%. Then let's give it a, flex direction row. Okay, before we continue, let's go here and add this style dot container, hit save. Okay, we don't see any changes yet. Let's align items to the center. Cool, that's fine. Let's justify content to the center. Now it's centered. Then I want to position this at the bottom of the screen, right? First of all, I want to say position absolute. And then I want to give this a height of 100. Hit save. Now it's absolute, but I need to say bottom. We can say 0, but I'll leave some space by saying 45. Okay, so if I say this like 0, this will be over my buttons and I don't want that, so let's say 45. Okay, and that's looking good. Perfect, so we have the container. Now we need to display some symbols to the right of this, right? In this case, in the real app, we would have icons, right? Or filters for Snapchat. Just to mimic this in this example, I'll create a symbol view. And let's provide a name. In this case, I'll use a face dashed for, just for fun. And let's give it a size of 40, type hierarchical, and then tint color would be white. Hit save. And there you can see the face. Now I want to have 4 faces. So we can use an array. I'll create an array and say 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I'll map over this array for each item. And for each item, I want to render this symbol view. Now I need to provide a key for this. The key is going to be the item. And let's hit save. All right. And there we have it, guys. Now this is looking funny and I'm not able to scroll, which means I need to wrap this into a scroll view from React Native. Okay, hit save. Now this is a scroll view. I'm able to scroll, but this is not what we want, right? Let me move this again. So we need to move this and set it from left to right. And scroll view takes something called horizontal. This will place the items horizontally. And then content container style, we can add a gap of 2 to add some separation between. Now I don't want to show the horizontal indicator. So we can use the show horizontal indicator equal to false and hit save. All right, let's try that again. And it's working fine. Looks good. Perfect. Now we need to do the same on the left, but with the pictures of the user. Now, how can we grab these pictures? Well, we can use the library. So let's use state here from React Native. Now, I'll be grabbing, the pictures, and we will call them assets, set assets. We will be using this from, using the Expo library, media library. So let's create an async function. And the name for this will be get albums. And let's delete this because we are not passing anything. Now, the way we get the pictures is going to be fetched albums equal to await. And then we need to call this function called albums async. This is coming from the Expo media library. This will get me the albums of the user. Okay. So this is yelling at me. Let's see. It says that it expects an argument. Okay, so I wrote get album async instead of get albums plural, which is not gonna take anything. So let's delete the other one. All right, so these are the albums. Once we have the albums, we can grab the assets. So I'll create this variable album assets equal to await, and then get assets async from Expo media library, as you can see there. Okay, so this will return basically the images, and as you can see, this is going to return an asset. So let's type this variable by saying that this is going to be an array of assets, like that. And this asset will come from the Expo library. Okay. Now, finally, once we have the assets, we can set the assets here by accessing the album assets.assets. Okay. Now, this get assets async takes some options, like for example, the album that we want. Now, the album that I want, it's going to be the recent. We can actually, search by this album, but in this case, I don't care which album I get. Now, the media type, we can specify photo, audio, or known, or just video. I leave photo for now. We can sort by creation time, and then we can grab just the first 4 photos, since I only want 4 photos. I don't want the entire library, right? It would be a lot of pictures and maybe the user won't use them. So let's just stick with 4 for now. Cool. So yeah, I guess at this point, because I don't care about the albums, if you want, like, specify the album, you can say, for example, fetch albums at position 0. Okay, that's an option. Let's comment this for now. Let's see what we get. Now, once we have these, assets in place, we can use a flat list from React Native. Now, this flat list is going to take data. Let's pass the assets as the data. Let's use the render item. So for the render item, this will return the item and index as well. So I just want the item, and we want to return an image. Remember, guys, that we install Expo image. So I'll import Expo image. Because we are iterating over these items, I'll provide a key, and the key would be item.id, which is the photo ID. Then the source would be item.uri, and we need to provide a style to specify the width and height. So I'll say width of 40 and height of 40. and border radius of 5. Okay, let's hit save. All right, we see some spacing in there. Now I want to have this horizontal as well. All right, now I don't see anything, maybe because I didn't specify the album. So I'll just, try to maybe reload the app. Let me see if I shake this and then reload. Okay, I got this warning. So I'm not able to see the images. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so I'll actually put this list as inverted because I want to start the scrolling from right to left. And then let's see, horizontal. I want to have a content container style as well. I'll give them some space, like 6 between items. All right, now something is wrong in here because we are not getting these assets. Let me see. Oh yeah, so the get albums is never called, right? We need a use effect for that. So let's create a use effect. And let's just call the get albums and hit save. Okay, that's why. Now we are able to see these images. Now, keep in mind, guys, that I inverted this list, but if I don't invert it, the scroll is going to be awkward in here. So let's invert it and let's hide as well the horizontal scrolling. Show horizontal scroll indicator equal to false. All right, let's hit save and I'm able to scroll super nice and to the right super nice and everything is centered because on the left and on the right we have only 4 elements that are of the same width and height. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now let's see if I don't provide this album, what happens. Okay, I think nothing happens. So let's go ahead and delete this. I don't think it's necessary for this example, but you can select the album like recents or places and things like that. Okay, cool. There we have it. So I think this component is ready. Now remember that we need to handle the take picture and camera mode, but we are already calling this whenever we press this button. So inside this component, we don't need to do anything else. I'll just go ahead and close it and let's go back to the index. Okay, alrighty guys, so moving on, I want to start working on the QR code before we continue with these controls. Let's add the ability to detect QR codes. Okay, so for that, I'll create a variable here and it's going to be called QR code detected. Set QR code detected using useState. Now keep in mind that whenever we detect a QR code, that will return some data, which means would be the what's the name? Would be the URL of the QR code. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. Okay, so I'll use this variable to track that. Now, the barcode scan property that comes with the camera view. Let me make this down here so that we can see better. Now, there's a property called barcode scanner settings. I want to specify the barcode types that my camera is going to accept. And as you can see, we have these many type of codes that we can use. In this case, I'm just interested in the QR. Now, there's also a barcode scan event. So that means whenever we detect something, in this case, I want to create a function called handle barcode scanned. And let's create this function here. So we're going to be calling this function whenever we detect this barcode. And by the way, this is going to return a scanning result of type barcode scanning result. So let's copy this and let's add it here. Now we need to import this type from the library Expo Camera. So let's hit enter. And now we should be able to access this scanning result. Now, I just wanted to, okay, well, let's actually try to implement this function. So this scanning result, it's going to come with some data, as I was mentioning before. So if I say dot for this result, I can access the data. And from here, I can put it in the console actually. So I'll say console log scanning result.data. Now, if we get, this data, I'll put it in the console, but then I'll set the QR code detected equal true. This will store the link. So I'll pass the result dot data. And then furthermore here, I want to validate, I want to prevent an infinite loop, because if I, keep scanning the QR code, even though if we open a view or something, the camera will still detect it. So I want to prevent the camera from rendering. So we need this variable to do that. So let me comment this for now and hit save. Okay. Now let's see what happens whenever I detect a QR code. So I have a QR code here on my screen. And at this point, we are able to see here in the console that we have the link, but this is happening a bunch of times every frame. Let's clean the terminal and let me show you here my mug. So if I grab my mug and show you the QR code, so that's the data that we are getting for the QR code of the mug. So let me clean. Just keep in mind that this is going to be different, right? Sometimes some QR codes won't work and things like that. But now that we know that we're getting the link, what I want to do here is prevent rendering this view if we are if we were able to open the browser. Okay, so we are handling the barcode scan, and then what I want to do is handle opening the QR code. So let's create a function to open the QR code. This function is going to be async. I'll call this one handle open QR code. Won't take anything as parameters, but in here, I want to create another function, other variable. And this one is going to be called is browsing, because if we have the browser open, that means that we don't need to show the camera. Okay, so let's create this variable is browsing in here. This is going to use React, and it's going to be a false at the beginning. So based on this, every time that we open the browser, I want to set this variable, set browsing, set is browsing equal to true. And then I want to, open the browser. So I'll say browser result, and we can use this method that comes with the web browser. So if you remember, we were importing this web browser here at the top. So web browser dot, and then open browser async. Open browser async, it's going to take a URL, which is going to be the QR code detected. Okay. And then we can actually specify some options here, some parameters, and I'll say presentation style equal to, we can access as well the web browser dot web browser presentation style enum dot, and then I'll use the form sheet. Okay. Then once we finalize browsing this browser, we will get a result from the browser result called .type, and I'll search for the type cancel. So if this type is cancel, I'll set is browsing equal to false, right? So now with this, with this thing, every time that I detect a QR code, this is going to set, okay, so on barcode handle, this is going to call this hard, set this code in this variable. And based on that, I can display a component that will let me know that I detected a QR code, right? So I'll use this QR code detected. And if I have something for this, I will render something. In this case, an empty tag, otherwise null. But I want to use this QR code. This is browsing to prevent rendering everything if we have the browser open. So I'll say if it's browsing, return an empty tag. Okay, so let's hit save. This will restart everything. Now let me scan the QR code here. Okay, it's scanning, but of course we are not seeing anything because I don't have anything in here. But just to test that this is working, let's use a text from the theme text and say hello. Okay, let's see if we are able to see it. Okay, so at the very top left, we see the hello. But now this hello actually is going to stay there for a while because we need to set that to be false, right? Now, one thing that I wanted to do before I do that is going to be handle opening this browser, right? So let's create a component for the QR code button that I want to render in here. So I'll name this one QR code button.tsx. All right, this is going to be just a touchable opacity. So I'll cheat a little bit, guys, in here. I'll just copy paste this component that I already have. Basically, I'm passing these properties. And actually, let me change the name of these props. Okay, so I'm passing the handle open QR code function, and I'm calling it on this touchable opacity, which has this current style. And then I'm using an icon of the QR code for iOS and QR code for Android, and then a text that says QR code detected with color white semi-bold. Let's hit save. And now instead of rendering this theme text, I'll use this QR code button, and let's pass the handle open QR code with handle open QR code. Okay, let's hit save. Now we are able to see this QR code detected because we detected a QR code a while ago. But what happens if I am not seeing the QR code anymore, and I don't want to have this this QR code here all the time? So for that, we can use a timeout reference. Okay, and this timeout reference can help us to set this to hide this QR code again. Okay, so let's put this in here. Let me see if I can move this in here. So this timeout ref is going to be used inside this handle barcode scan. Then in here, I'm going to check if we have a reference. So if we say current, I want to clear the timeout of this reference, current. And then if the timeout current, if we don't have one, we want to set it to a new set timeout. Okay, and I want to wait 1 second before I set the QR code detected to be null again. So I'll pass an empty string. And now what happens is that if I bring again my QR code, it's going to be detected, but if I go away, it's going to stay 1 second and then it's going to disappear just by using this timeout ref. Okay, very nice. Cool, and that's how we can handle QR codes. Now let me go and scan this QR code, and this time I will actually press this button. This will take me to the website of the QR code that we detected. And if I press done, this will open the camera again and we can start over again. Very cool, right? Alrighty guys, so now we have the QR code feature enabled super quickly. Now we need to add the camera tools that we have on the top right? So let's create a component for that. Let me hide the terminal here. I'll create a component. I'll call this one camera tools.tsx. It's going to have basically the camera zoom on the top right, camera zoom out, the flash, the torch, the facing of the camera, and things like that. Okay, so let's start by saying export default function camera tools. Okay, and this is going to return a view from React Native. Okay, let's keep it simple for now. We can always come and refactor. So we have these two files. Let me scroll up here on the left. In this home screen is where we are handling the state of the camera. But I want to mention a couple things because we are not using all the properties of this camera. We also have camera zoom. So I'll use this zoom here. Now, in this case, this is a Boolean, so I can say, sorry, it's not a Boolean, it's a number from 0 to 1. So I'll use 0 and hit save. But if I use 1, you'll see that we have a lot of zoom. But if I use 0, 1, that's how it looks. If I use 0, 0, we don't have any zoom. And we can start playing with these values. Okay, so we can handle the zoom like that. I'll put 0 for now. We also have the camera flash. And the flash can be auto, on, or off. So if I say on, next time that we take a picture, we will use the flash. Now we also have the torch. So camera torch, I don't remember the name of this property. Enable torch. So enable torch basically will turn on my flash, as you can see there. And if I turn it off, you can see how it's turning on and off in the image. Okay, so let's leave it off for now. We also have facing. Facing, is to rotate the camera. And if I use front, I believe this would be for a selfie. Okay, and that's how it looks. So I'll turn this back to back. This is how we can use the facing. Now I comment the torch. All right, so we want to handle these properties of the camera inside this component camera tools. So for these, we will need to create some state variables and then pass these to the camera tools properties. Okay, so let's start by creating a camera zoom variable. This is going to be a value from 0, like I was mentioning. So let me move this to the left. Let me create this variable here. This is going to be useState. At the beginning, it's going to be 0, and it's going to be called camera zoom. Okay. Now we also need a facing, flash, torch. So let's create these variables here. So I'm just naming camera torch, flash, facing, and then I'm initializing these values to the default. In this case will be off, and I need to import this type from the Expo camera. Then I'm using the front or back for the facing. And now I think that those are all the features that we need for this camera. Now we need to map these to each value. So let's start with the flash. So I'll use the camera flash, camera zoom, and then enable torch. I'll use the torch, camera torch, and facing, camera facing, and now we can hit save. All right, this will initialize the camera as usual. but now we have these state variables that can be changed in the component. So let's go and declare these variables in the component. So an easy way to do this would be to just go to the camera tools and then create an interface, and the name is going to be this one, plus props. And in here we can start defining all the variables that we're going to be needing. In the first one could be the zoom. So what we can do is just hover here and copy this. This is going to help us for the type. And then we need to do the same for every other variable. So I'll just copy paste all this, then import this type, and also import as well. I think that's the only one I was missing. Okay, so these are setters and these are values. And now we need to get those values from the properties inside the component. So let's do that in here. Okay, so we are basically saying this component is going to take these properties, and once we have these properties, we can use them inside this view. Okay, so in this view, we are going to have some icon buttons. Let's start with the flashlight. Okay, so let's provide an iOS name, flashlight of circle. Let's just leave it like that for now. Android name is going to be flash, and then on press, in this case, we want to set the camera torch. So let's say set camera torch equal to, now in here, I'll grab the previous value of this state, and based on that, I'll set the new state, but with the negation. Okay, so let's hit save. Okay, so now to test this out, let's just leave this icon and let's go back to the index. Let's scroll down, and after my QR code, I'll import my camera tools. Okay, and now we need to pass all the state variables that we declared before. So I just pass them like this. This is how they look. Let's hit save. Okay, and now we are able to see, this icon at the top left in my device, but it's hard to get. So let me close this. Let me go back to this component. Now that I passed all these properties in here, I'll close the index for now. And yeah, let's come back here to the camera tools. I want to start adding some styling so that we are able to see the icons. So let's say style, position absolute first of all, and then I want to put this to the right. So I'll say right 6. All right, and then why am I getting a warning here? Okay, so this is a number. Okay, now it's in the right. Now let me add a gap of 16. Hit save. Then I also want an index to make sure that this is going to be always visible. So I'll put this index 1. All right. Now we should be able to see these camera tools, but let me actually go back to the index and let's scroll down here. So all this is inside this camera view, but actually is not visible, right? So what I'll do is inside the camera tag, I'll create a safe area view component from React Native, and then I'll wrap everything inside this safe area view. But I need to provide a flex of 1 so that we take the entire space of the screen. Okay, and as you can see, that didn't do anything. All right, so I think that is because we need to provide a view for these items. So I'll use a regular view from React Native and wrapped inside the save area view. Okay, and now we are able to see it, but this view also needs to have a style of flex of 1 to use the entire screen space. All right, and now we are able to see everything inside this. So the save area view is taking effect because if I comment this, you see that the icon will go off again. So let's leave the save area view, but we needed the view as well. Okay, so let's go to the camera tools component. Okay, so everything is looking fine. And at this point, if I press this icon on my real device in here, you can see how we are turning on and off the torch. So everything is working fine. It's hard to see, I think, but let's see in here. This is on, off. So it's easier to see if we get things closer. So let me just put this in here so that we have some items in the video. Okay, so that's that. And now basically, guys, we need to do the same thing for every single feature. Now, I'll focus only on iOS for now. So for iOS icons, I want to check the camera torch actually status. And if this is equal to true, then I want to have the off. But if it's false, I want to have the flashlight. In this case would be slashed circle. Okay, so at this point you can see that is off, but if I turn it, the icon should be changing. Okay, and it's changing every time I press again, we change the icon. All right, so now we have to do the same for every single action, guys. We have to do the same for the for the facing camera, for the camera flash. We have to do the same for the zoom, and finally to close the for the zoom in and zoom out. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and copy paste. Basically it's just duplicating this and change the variables. So to do this in a quicker manner, I'll just paste this in here. Basically we have the same thing that we saw previously. We have one for the camera facing. So if I hit save, we should be able to see these icons, and you can just copy paste and should be fine. But if now I press the flip camera, okay, it's working, and you can see here my hand, and if I press again, it will flip the camera. We can also turn on the flash or off, and the zoom can be seen like this. Now let me show you the zoom, how I handle the zoom. Let's scroll down. Okay, so here's the zoom. First thing, when we press the plus magnifier, we need to add zoom. But first of all, we need to check that we are not passing from 1, because if we pass the zoom from 1, we will crash the application or we will get an error. So this needs to be between 1 and 0. That's why I'm checking. If the camera zoom is less than 1, then I will increase by 0.1. Okay, otherwise I won't do anything. And to decrease is the same thing. We cannot go below 0. So I'm just checking if the camera zoom is greater than 0. Then I will subtract or decrement by 0.1. Otherwise, I won't do anything. Okay, and the zoom is working fine. Cool. All right, I think we are good with the camera tools. Let's go ahead and close this component, and let's go back to the index. Now, we are handling, it seems that everything, but we are not able to take pictures yet. So let's do that now. To take a picture, guys, it's actually fairly easy. We need to create a function to handle that. So I'll minimize these functions that we have here, and I'll create one more up here. This one is going to be an async function as well. And the name of this one is going to be handle take picture. It won't take anything as parameters. It's just going to be a simple function, and we will get a response based on the camera ref. So if you remember, we are using this camera ref, and this camera ref comes with some cool things. So let's access the current instance of this reference and then check the methods that we can use. So we have these methods, as you can see here, but the ones that we're going to be using is going to be the record async, which means taking videos, and then stop recording. Stop recording will stop recording if we are recording, otherwise it won't do anything. And then we also have take picture. So let's use in this case take picture, and this function takes some options, and these options can be passed in this object. And some of the options that we can pass is, for example, base64. If you want the image to be base64, you can pass base64 here. You can pass an ID, additional exit. So there's many properties that we can pass here, like quality of the image. If you want to decrease the quality, or if you want max quality, you can specify this in here. Scale, on picture saved, and things like that. So for now, I'm not going to be using anything, but just so that you are aware of all these options that we have in here. Now, once I have the response, this response will come with the base64, height, width, and URI. The thing that we care will be the URI. So let's save that in a variable called picture. Okay, so for my picture, I will store that in a variable here. So let's use useState for that. It's going to be a string, and I call it picture and set picture. And I have actually this demo that came with the library when I installed it, the image, sorry. So let's use this link just for testing. At this point, we will have a picture by default, and then we can use it, right? But once we get this response, I can say set picture equal to response.uri, okay, which means I will replace. And just, for the simplicity of this, I will tell TypeScript that this won't be null by putting an exclamation point. Now, again, if you want to learn more about TypeScript, check out my course at codewithbeto.dev. Okay, let's scroll down here. So a couple things to notice, guys. Once we take a picture with this, handle take picture, once we take a picture, we need to show the image. Otherwise, we will just continue viewing the camera. But once we take a picture, we need to show that image. So if we go to the main row actions, remember that we have this handle take picture. In this, I'm going to call my handle take picture. But once I take the picture, I want to, let's say just for fun, let's put this in the console, response.uri, and hit save. Now let's open the terminal. Let me clear the terminal. Okay, let me take a picture. I'll just press, and the picture was taken, as you can see. And if I scroll down in the terminal, I have this URL. Now this picture is in the cache of the iPhone, which means if I close the app or I do something else, I will lose this image. So we need to save it as well. So let's do that. So we are setting the image here, but the first thing that I want to do is display this image. So to display this image, let's create a component, and this component is going to be picture view.tsx. Okay, export default function, picture view. This will return a view for now from React Native. All right, so this picture view will take actually a couple of properties. So let's copy this and create an interface, declare some props. The first one is going to be a picture, and the picture is going to be of type string, and then set picture. This will be, a react.dispatch. So let me import all as React from React. All right, and we can type this by saying .dispatch. Now this is a generic. So let's say set state action, generic again of type string. All right, that's the types that we need. Finally, I'll say here picture views props. I'll set picture and picture. Cool. So picture view, I need to display the image, right? If you remember, we installed the image from Expo image. So this image will take a source, which will be the picture, and finally we'll take a style, which will contain a width of, I want to take the entire screen, so I'll pass 100%, and height of 100% as well. Okay, and then I'll just give it a, some styling if you want, but for now just width and height. Let's hit save. Let's go back to the index, and now something important here is that if we have a picture, we want to display this picture, right? So after this validation, I will check if we have a picture, then return my picture view from my components. Okay, this will take my picture. So we need to pass the picture and then set picture. And let's pass the set picture state setter. So at this point, you can see that I'm moving actually my device. So let me shake to reload, and I'll, just show you guys I can move around. Okay, I actually cannot move around since we have this hard-coded picture, but this is good, right? If I remove this, we will get the camera again with this funny warning. And then just I'll keep moving and take a picture, and you'll notice that the picture was taken. And now we are able to see this view, which contains, my current view, but now we are not able to see the camera. We are not able to see any controls because now we are in the picture view. Sounds good. Now let's see if I can change this again by updating, and then come back, and now I have the camera again. Okay, so let's leave the camera for now. Let's go back to the picture view and let's fix a couple things here. Actually, let me bring back the other view. This one. Okay, so we can use this one to just see how the controls of the view when we took a picture are going to look like. Okay, so first thing that I want to do is add more icons. And these icons are going to be just for maybe just closing this view, right? And also saving this image. What else? Sharing the image. So let's create some icons for that. I'll create a view. On top of this view will contain the controls. So let's create an icon button. The first one is going to be iOS name. Let's do the save. So for the save, I'll use the arrow down. Android is going to be, do we have a save? Yes, we have a save. And then on press, we are going to save this image. So let's hit save. Okay, so we are able to see the icon at the top. Let's add a style here. I'll do a position absolute. Then right of 6. Let's see, hit save. Okay, now I'm not able to see anything. Let's just see index of 1. Okay, there's my icon. Let me add a padding top of 50. Cool, so this is working fine. And I'll add a gap of 16 so that we have separation between icons. If I create more icons like this, we have a nice separation. Okay, so that looks good. So to save a photo, we need to use the function save to library from Expo Media Library. So I'll hit enter and this will get auto imported. This will take the local URL, which is the picture URL that we are getting as property. And just to see that this is coming from Expo Media Library and we're passing it here. Now, yeah, once we have done that, I'll create actually a couple of steps here. So I'll add curly braces. Then I want to show an alert so that we know, let the user know that the picture was saved. So we can say picture saved. Hit save. Now let's try to press this button. Okay, so this is not my device, but I'll press in my real device. And the picture was saved. Okay, let's see if that was true. I think that didn't work. Let me go to the library. Photos. Okay, so it wasn't saved. Let's see what happened. Let me go back. Let me open the terminal. Let me press that again. Possible unhandled rejection. I think this needs to be a sync. Yeah, and I need to await this. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's try again. Okay, so let me reload. Let's try this again. Now I press save. Oh, okay, makes sense. So I guess this is failing because we are passing this URL. So let's try to save a picture. Okay, so let's take a picture of my mug and then save. Picture was saved. So in this case, I think this was successful. Let's go to the library. Okay, and we are able to see the picture. Cool. So let me shake this again to reload. Okay, so taking pictures is working. Cool. Now let's continue working on the, let me take a picture on the picture screen. All right, so I'll just add some icons, guys, for fun, but so that we display something. But of course, you can keep adding more features to this app depending on what you want to do. I'll replace this icon for square, circle, triangle, just so that we know that we can add more features in there. Now, I want to add an icon for sharing, and actually sharing is very easy as well, guys. I just use the await share async, and this function comes from Expo sharing. Okay, and sharing async will take a picture as well, which is the URL, and you can share this with your friends. So if I can save, we should be able to press this share and just select where you want to share messages or things like that. Okay. Funny thing is that you can pass some options as well, like dialogue title for Android, but for now I'll just leave that as it is. Okay. All right, so we have that. Now I want to have a close mark, and this close mark will live on the top left. So after this view, I'll create another view with this position, and then this icon will set the picture to null, which means if I press this X, I will go back to the camera view. Let's take another picture, for example, of this. Let's just leave it like that for now. Yeah, so that's for closing. And I think that's all we need for now for the camera view. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this. Let's go back to the camera view. So here we are validating if we have a picture, we're going to show a picture, and we can save pictures, as you can see there. Now this is in my library. Now I want to do the same thing basically, but for videos, right? All right, so let's do the videos quickly. This is going to be very similar to the picture view, but in this case, instead of having a picture link in here, I will have a video. So let's actually use, we can use a custom video by default, like we were doing for testing. So I'll provide this video that I got from the Expo documentation. So we will have this video, set video. This is just a string with the link to the video. Got it? So that's that. That's one thing we need. Now let's go ahead and duplicate this picture view. So I'll press Command C and then Command V. This will paste a copy here, but in this case, instead of picture view, I will call this video view. Okay, and hit enter. Now I need to search for picture view and change this to be video view. Now I'll add component since there's a method called video view from Expo and I don't want to cause any conflicts there, so I'll add the component keyword as well. Okay, that's that. We're good on that. Now for this video component, like I mentioned before, it's going to be very similar, but now we need to change this. Instead of picture, it's going to be video. Okay, and this will be uppercase. Oops, and this will be uppercase. All right, and that's that. Cool. So when it comes to showing a video, guys, we're gonna be using the video view from Expo, and that is going to require a reference. So we've been using refs for the camera. We need a new ref for this video view. So I can call this one video view ref, for example, and let's pass the type in here, video view from Expo video. So we need to import this, okay? And once we have this reference for the video, we need to create a video view. So I'll create my video view down here. Okay, and by the way, I need to change this. So let me quickly do that. Okay, let's go down here all the way to the end. And instead of having this image now, I will have a video view from Expo. Now this will take a ref, and this is the ref, video view ref. It will also take a style. So the style I want to be width of 100%, as you can imagine by now, and 100% for the height. Cool. Now, this will also take a player, and we will learn more in a moment. But we can set other options like, for example, allow full screen or native controls. This is by default true, but you can set it to false if you want. But I'll leave it as true for now. Okay, so the player basically, it's like an instance of the video and some settings that we can set for this video. Let's go up to the top in here and let's create this reference player. So I'll create a player variable, and then we can use a use video player hook that comes from Expo video. This will take the source of the video. We are getting this from the properties, so let's go ahead and pass it directly. And then we need to set a callback function for the setup. This callback function will return the player. And once we have this player, we can set settings over this player. For example, player loop equal true. If we want to loop the video, in this case, I do want to loop the video. Player.muted equal to true, for example. Player.play, so that we can play this by default. And let's see what else we have. We can say player.duration, current time, emit, mute, loop, play, playback rate, playing, and yeah, release. I mean, we have many things, so you can check it out by yourself. If you need any other specific feature, maybe it comes in here. Okay, so now that we have the player, we can copy this variable, scroll all the way down, and provide it in here. So I'll say player and hit save. Okay, cool. What else we need for this? I think we should be good. But if we want to pause and continue this video, for this I want to, okay, I leave this X mark in there, but I want to, let's see, I'll use this. Okay, so I won't be using the shared for this. I mean, we can share actually, so I'll keep the shared. For this one, let's use this one for playing and pausing the video. Okay, so this icon name is going to depend on the isPlaying variable, and actually we need to specify this one. So isPlaying, it's going to be used with useState, and this is going to live inside this component. So let's use useState for this. This is going to be a boolean, and then to set this variable, I will create a useEffect. Okay, so this useEffect will take these two parameters. Now my useEffect is going to be run every time the player changes, and inside this useEffect, I need to create a subscription to the player. So I'll say player add listener, and then play changed, playing changed. Okay. Now from this, we can have a callback that will return isPlaying, and then we can set isPlaying equal to the callback. Okay. Now this subscription needs to be cleaned up once we unmount this component. So let's go ahead and say on the return, remove this subscription. Cool. Now we are setting this isPlaying. We can use this isPlaying down here. So if we are playing, then I want to use a play. Otherwise, I want to use a pause. Okay. For Android, let's just leave it at like that for now. I think we can use maybe the same icon for Android. Okay, now let's test this out. We have a hard-coded video, so we should be able to see that. But now I want to duplicate this. If we have a video, then I want to have a video view component. This will take a video. We will pass the video, and the setter will be set video and set video. Okay, let's hit save. This will re-render, and now we are able to see the video that we hard-coded in here. Okay, so this is nice. We're able to see the video, and I'm able to see the controls as well. I have the play here, and if I press the play, something happened. Let's see what happened in here. Okay, let me go to the video. Okay, so I set the video to null, which is not what I want. What I wanted to do here is actually pause the video, right? So let's handle this on press based on the isPlaying, right? So if we are playing, I want to say player pause. Otherwise, I want to say player play. Okay, and then set isPlaying equal to, whatever we had, but the negation with this. Okay, cool. So now let's reload. Let me shake the device and reload. Cool. We have the video by default, and I can use this button on the top right. But because I left this variable called video ref, allow native controls, I'm able to tap anywhere in the video, and I can toggle these these controls. But if I set this to false, if you want to have something more custom like we are doing with this play and stop, you can do so, and if I press anywhere, I won't see these controls. But in this case, I want to keep them, so I'll just leave this as keep native controls, so that I don't have to code like the speed, for example, or to move forward and backward, I can drag and drop at the bottom and I'm able to see the entire video. Okay. Now, finally, I just close this, which will set the video to be an empty string, right? If I close, we will set video to be an empty string, and this empty string will trigger this validation, which is false at this point, and we will fall into rendering the camera. Cool. Now, we are taking pictures at this point, but if I switch to video in here, I'm able to see this very nice transition with the, the icon for the video, but we need to handle the recording of the video, right? So to handle the recording of the video, let me hide the terminal here. Let's scroll up. We have this handle take picture. We need something similar for the recording. Okay, so let's create a function up here. Now by default, I will delete this and I will have just an empty string like that. All right, so let's create another function, async function as well. So let's say async function. The name of this one is going to be toggle record. Okay, won't take anything, but the first thing that I want to check is if we are recording or not. So we don't have an isRecording variable yet. So let's go ahead and create an isRecording variable. This is going to be a Boolean. And down here, I can say if isRecording. Then what I want to do is actually grab the camera ref dot current dot stop recording. Okay. Now we are going to set the isRecording. Now we are handling actually this set isRecording because we are going to validate some things based on the isRecording. Okay. So I'll set this to false. Now else, if we are not recording and we are toggling the record, means that we need to set the isRecording equal to true, and then const response equal to await. I'll grab the current camera ref dot current dot record async. Okay. Now again, guys, this can take some options in here. For example, the max duration of the video. So if you are creating like a Snapchat, maybe the max duration would be something like a minute, I think, or something. But for now, I just, leave without options. Now set the video. Once we have the response, it's very similar to the image. I'll grab the URL and I'll tell TypeScript that this won't be null. Okay, I'm setting the video once I finish recording. That's all. Now let's use this toggle record. So the toggle record actually can be called in the same main row actions when we are handling the take picture, but this is going to change based on the camera mode, right? So if the camera mode is picture, then I want to handle take picture, but otherwise I want to toggle the recording. So if I hit save and let's wait for a minute, I think the app is loading. Okay, so we are going to toggle the record. What else we have in here? Now, just to validate what is happening here is that in this main row actions, we are calling this handle take picture, but this function is going to change, right, based on this validation. So when we press, also we are passing the isRecording. So isRecording, we need to change this variable here because based on this validation, we are going to render the animations and the repeating animation and also the symbol for iOS. So let's go ahead and hit save for that. Let me reload the app. Let's see what's going on in here. Okay, so I think that the app actually crashed. I'm not sure why. Let me open the console. I'll clear the terminal and I'll run the application again. Okay, so it succeeded. So it might be that I have been, using this for hours now. Actually, I think I'm running the wrong one. 1 second. Yeah, I'll run this again on the iPhone 12. I have two apps, so that's why this is the correct one. This is the one that we're working on. Let's see if this fixes the issue. Okay, starting. Okay, and we have it working again. Now I'll press on video. Everything is working fine. Let me hide the terminal. At this point, once I finish recording, I'll set the video and we will see the component. So I press record. You can see that now it's yellow because we are recording. Is recording is equal to true. And once I finish recording, let's press again. To toggle the recording, we are able to see the video. And from here, we can play with the default native, native controls, or I can play with the native controls of the video, which is really nice. Okay, and this is going to loop, which means it's going to start again once we finish recording. And yeah, this is how it looks. Let's stop. Now from here, I can save the video. So let's go ahead and press the save. Video saved. I got the alert. Now let's go to the library to see if that's true. Go to the photos, and if I scroll down, I'll find this video, which is really nice. Now from here, I can get more info maybe, like the information and things like that. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the app. Now from here, I can share as well or save the video and then close this. This will set the video to be null, which means we're going to delete it from the cache and go back to the app. Okay. And yeah, this is how we can handle recording videos. Now, finally, guys, we have this bottom left icon that should take us to the what's the name? To the gallery, right, of the iPhone, so that we can see the photos that we are taking. Because right now we can just see 4 here in this scroll. So let's quickly create, just before we finish this video, let's quickly create a new screen to display these pictures so that we don't have to go to the photos to see our new pictures. So I'll create a media library.tsx. This is going to be a screen for our media. And this screen, guys, is going to be actually fairly simple. So let's say export default function, media library screen. Okay, let's return an empty tag. I will have a scroll view actually in here from React Native. Okay, and we will have something very similar to what we did to get these photos that you can see here on the top and the bottom left. So let's do these assets, set assets, and then equal to react.useState. Now I need to import this. So let's actually go to the component bottom. What is it? Bottom rows tools. Is it the one? No, it's actually the main row action, right? Yeah, here we are iterating over the images in this flat list. So we need to do something similar to get these photos. So we can copy this. Let's go to the media library and paste it here. Now we need to import React. So yeah, so let's import these hooks. Let me move this to the top, by the way. It's good practice. It's safe. Let's go back here. I'll paste this in here. Oops, I didn't copy this. Okay, let me paste it here. All right, so we need to import the asset from Expo Media Library and get assets async from Expo Media Library as well. Once we have these assets, we can set the assets. Finally, at this point, we don't want 4. We will delete these first. and we'll just leave this like that so that we will get the maximum, which is I think 20 pictures, and then from there we can move on. Okay. All right, so down here I have this scroll view, and then I'll just say assets.map for each photo, and for each photo I want to return an image from Expo image. I'll pass a key, which is the photo ID. And also this is a good point to analyze, the information that comes from each picture, like for example, the album ID, duration, file name, height, URI, and things like that. Okay, so next I'll pass a source, which is the photo.uri, and then style. My style will be width of 25% of screen, and then height of 100. Okay, let's hit save. Now we need to add this screen into our layout. Let's go to the layout. We have this screen, so I'll add one more by duplicating the onboarding, changing the name for media library, and yeah, we can change the presentation to be a modal. Header shown. I want to show the header actually, so I'll leave that as true. Animation, instead of having fade, I will just delete that. And I think that's all I want, so I'll hit save. And now if I go back and press the same icon, this won't work because this icon is in the bottom row tools, and when I was pressing it, let's see, where is this button? Yeah, media library. So this is taking me to the media library. Let's wait for a second. Let's try to navigate again. Okay, so I had to reload. Now this is working, and this is how my library looks. But of course, let's fix this quickly. Let's go to the media library screen, and in here we need to play a little bit with the styling of the scroll view. So we have something called content container style. I'll add a padding top of 50, and then I'll add a flex direction row. Okay, and finally, to prevent items from going out of the screen, I'll have a flex wrap or wrap. Okay, this will wrap the items. And yeah, this is how it looks. Actually, I think I don't need the padding. Now I'm able to see my pictures sorted by creation time, which should be the latest one first, and then anything else. Okay, so creation time. Let's see if this works by dismissing this and take a new picture of my AirPods. Okay, oops, let's save. Photo save, and let's close this. Let's open the media library, and we are able to see my AirPods, my new picture. Cool. Alrighty guys, now as a conclusion, let's just go to the index. So I close this. I go to the index which is where we have, all this. I'll take a picture here. Well, I can just leave it there in the video. Just want to analyze a little bit what we did in this video, because this is a very large video. We can use these links. If you want to check the code at codewithbeto.dev, you can use these links for testing, and it's good for debugging, especially when you are using the simulator. But just what we did, guys, it's very simple. Let me delete this that we're not using anymore. Delete this as well. So yeah, so what we did, guys, is basically use the camera and bind every single action that we can do with the camera with state and provide it in here, and then try to decouple all this logic into components that we can reutilize, keeping in mind some sort of validations, right? For example, when we detect a QR code, we are preventing, once we open the browser, we're preventing everything from being rendered. And once we close the browser, for example, we are setting again this variable to false so that we can render the camera. And the first thing, the same thing we're doing for the picture and video. And yeah, so this is the app, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to go to codewithbeto.dev if you want to learn more about React Native. If you feel like you need to learn or enforce the basics of React and React Native, please check out the courses, subscribe to the video, give it a like, leave me a comment. If you want any video in special, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.